May 2026 has been rolling along just like the rest of the year so far, with new mobile games dropping almost every single minute. Hello friends, this is Mobo, and today we're checking out over 25 new mobile games of May 2026 for Android and iOS. First of all, this is a rather quick mention. The Walking Dead Aftermath, for those of you who missed it, is now coming to Android and iOS. Now if you missed it, pretty quick mention like I said, it's a roguelike sort of loop. It's a survival game set in the Walking Dead universe, where you're going to be pushing through the series' locations like the Woodbury, the Alexandria, scavenging, fighting, dealing with random upgrades that can either save your run or ruin it just depending on your luck. It's a roguelike. Between runs, then it also flips into base building, where you're upgrading, managing survivors, etc. Anyway, it's just that mix of high-risk runs and slow recovery grind that keeps just pulling you back. Check it out, it's coming to Android and iOS soon. With that being said, number 2 we've got the game Pada, or Pada, which is a survival shooter, just the same. Well, in case you're just wondering, it feels like someone asked, what if Doom stopped caring about balance just entirely, just vanished it? Because, well, as you can see, you're literally firing 6 weapons at the same time, while locked onto a moving rail through each different war zone. You've got miniguns, rockets, lasers. The screen just turns into non-stop chaos. It's less tactical shooter, more hold the trigger and survive the madness type of game. And then between runs, you head back to the underground, upgrading your bunker, and building even crazier loadouts. Pretty simple setup, honestly, but the pure arcade destruction kind of carries it just basically all the way. Risk Area and Highway Simulator at number 3 is basically what happens when someone mixes a truck driving sim with, I don't know, fine, I'll just build my own gas station. Because here's the thing, you're just out there driving deliveries, parking trucks, dealing with highways and weather, then suddenly spending half your time expanding motels, fuel stations, repair shops, and random roadside businesses like a highway manager. It's got that slow sim game addiction where every small upgrade feels productive. It's a surprisingly chill game on surface, especially if you like games where you just manage stuff while cruising along the way. Anyway, number 4 we've got Cool Brawl. And Cool Brawl is a pretty lightweight battle royale game, it's a shooter, with more casual party game style presentation to it, closer to something like Stumble Guys than a sort of serious first-person shooter. It's got pretty short matches, pretty fast, built around simple shooting mechanics with heavy accessibility features like auto-aim, which makes it easy to pick up even if you're not good at shooters. It also leans into social features and lots of rewards. Overall, it's clearly aimed at relaxed, low-skill entry BR gameplay rather than competitive depth or mechanical complex gameplay. On another hand, Spirit feels like ghost hunting if it was actually made for people who actually want to get traumatized. The story is it's an action-adventure. You're searching these haunted houses, catching spirits, building this squad of ghost companions that follow you into new missions along the way. The whole thing sits in that soft middle ground between creepy and cute, where like 1 second a place feels super unsettling, then suddenly you're collecting adorable floating monsters like it's just some haunted cartoon adventure. Definitely a more chill charm than full horror panic. It's a free game, about 350 megabytes in total. Stunt Paradise is basically the kind of racing game where normal driving gets thrown out the window like immediately. It's nothing but ramps, flying, flipping cars through the air, smashing into stuff and somehow landing like it was just part of the whole plan. Every level feels built around doing the dumbest stunt possible just to see if the game lets you survive it. Pretty simple setup, but it's also got that old school arcade mayhem where crashing itself is just half the fun. It's a free game as well. Number 7 we've got the game Clash of Critters. This is, by the way, so far one of the most downloaded games this month. I want to say it's one of those games that knows exactly just what it's doing. It's a whole package to simply just distract you with these cute pets before throwing non-stop zombie waves in tower defense matter. So yeah, you're collecting these little weird pet things, evolving them into stronger forms, mixing them together, trying to break the game with just dumb combos. It's got that colorful pit game energy on the surface, but underneath, it is pure strategy brain rot, trying to survive bigger and bigger enemy swarms. Going down to number 8, we've got Farming Simulator 26. And yeah, somehow these games keep making farming look like operating a billion-dollar machine empire. So you're out there driving tractors worth more than houses, managing crops, supply chains, animals, harvesters, all for that simple satisfaction of watching numbers and fields slowly come together perfectly. It sounds a little boring on paper, yeah, but then suddenly you're like 4 hours deep, optimizing wheat production like your family's bloodline depends on it. Pretty relaxing game though, which has always also been the magic of farming sim games. Now, on another hand, we've got Bee King. I'm gonna have to say that Bee King is basically what happens when an idle tycoon stops trying to stress you for once. Yeah, pretty simple, well-polished game, in my opinion, and it's actually made to make you actually cool down. The mission is, well, you're building this destroyed candy bee kingdom, one little upgrade at a time. Hiring worker bees, fixing factories, vacuuming up resources, and watching the whole place slowly come back to life. No pressure, maybe a little bit, no competitive nonsense, just your little honey empire quietly getting bigger while your bees do all the labor like absolute legends. By the way, pretty good developers. Evil Angry Neighbor Hoarder actually got its sequel and it's now on Android. It's an offline game, free, comes with a pack of new challenges and stages. It's a stealth horror game in a suburban sort of maze like the Hello Neighbor games where you're sneaking through the backyard, cut into houses, laying out of the sight while this hostile neighbor patrols with like near perfect awareness. In this game, progress comes from solving puzzles, grabbing tools, unlocking new sections, and most of it's just hiding, watching, reading sound cues, and trying to stay one step ahead of the game. Going down to number 11, we've got Guild Wars Reforged. And this is basically that old school MMO energy brought straight onto mobile. It's less about flashy action and more about building a proper character that actually matters. Professions, skills, gears, managing, and also a huge campaign. It's got that classic think first, fight after MMO pace, where even small choices in your setup can completely change how a run feels. It's very much a strategy heavy RPG at heart, and not a tap and go grind in any way. I actually tried this one a couple of hours ago. I gotta say, Guard Reforged is doing a pretty good job. First of all, it's a hero collecting RPG built around mythology characters, where you're going to be assembling teams of these figures and upgrading them into stronger versions over time. Combat's turn-based, so the focus is on team synergy like raids, Shadow Legends, the ability timing and how well your lineup works together, rather than reflexes. There's a big roster of heroes as well, pulled from all the mythologies, and most of the gameplay loop is about pulling units, building squads, and refining comps to deal with harder encounters. It's still early alpha, a little laggy, but it's also got a pretty good foundation as well. Number 13, we've got Kingdom Flames of War. And this game finally made it over to the US, it's out now worldwide, and developers published the game with an English version as well. So, for those of you who missed it, it's a large-scale MMORPG. It's actually built around big, real-time PvP, especially these huge 300 versus 300 castle siege fights, with this sort of loop that's almost all the way MMO. You grind mobs, upgrade gear, join guild, warfares, and push into PvP and PvE events as your power grows. Most of the focus is on just large-scale wars, player competition, and continuous character progression in this always online world with systems like trading, crafting, pits, and transformations all layered on top. It's a free game, about 300 gigabytes in total, and it's available on both platforms. Rusty Axe is, on another hand, an offline hack-and-slash RPG, and it's built around repeated dungeon runs. Loot farming, character progression as well, and where you get to pick a class, a warrior, sorcerer, and just run missions that rotate between survival, defense, and boss-focused fights. It's pretty straightforward as well in structure, where you grind, pick up gear, enhance or dismantle it, and just gradually push into harder abyss content. Pretty solid game if you want a grind heavy sort of ARPG loop that don't really reinvent anything in the genre, just plain old action RPG goodness. Well, here's the thing, guys. Motu Skeletor, until next time, is another straightforward, although endless running game where you're just constantly running and triggering abilities as speed slowly ramps up. Well, technically, this old game's charm is that you get to play as the Skeletor and unlock other characters as well, while the core loop never really changes. It's very standard runner structure. You go run after run, try to survive longer, hit a higher score, and slowly stack upgrades and unlocks that make future runs smoother. The ability and character effects add a little bit of flavor, but at its core, like I said, it's a pretty simple reflex-based type of running game. Zombie Patrol, on another hand, feels like someone grabbed a zombie shooter, injected it with energy drinks, I guess, and said, well, good luck. See, everything's pretty fast. Bosses get to mutate into literal abominations mid-fight, and half your survival depends on just not panicking like a supermarket employee during a Black Friday. The real hook in this game is experimenting with different heroes and, the ridiculous builds you get to build until you accidentally create some walk-in apocalypse by yourself. It is still an alpha, sure, but there's already enough nonsense here to keep you entertained for days. Pretty good game. Number 17, we've got Guard. I'm gonna have to say the TEMU version. So it's not the original PC game, but for those of you who want that, can't really wait for the official version, this is a medieval gatekeeper sim, where your job is basically to control who gets into the castle and who doesn't. It's nothing clunky, but the graphics are like very mobile indie and almost non-existent. That being said, the loop's pretty simple, the loop's pretty solid, it is simple, repetitive, you scan visitors, make judgment calls, and sometimes deal with sudden attack scenarios that break the routine as well. You check travelers, spot suspicious details, and decide if someone's safe or a threat. That's it. Number 18, we've got Garments and Clothes Factory Sim. And this one's also a pretty good, almost a full-on clothing empire builder, where you start pretty small and slowly turn into a fashion production machine. In fact, it mixes factory management with design stuff, so you're not just making clothes, you're actually building the whole pipeline from stitching to selling. Progress comes from upgrading machines, expanding your factory floors, unlocking new styles, and keeping your orders flowing, and most of it is just balancing creativity with production speed while trying to grow a bigger workshop in the fashion empire. Going now to number 19, we've got Last Origin R+. This one's a very system-heavy turn-based RPG where most of your time is just spent on squads, fighting, and optimizing resources for long-term progression. This game is extremely progression-driven, with auto battles and AFK farming almost doing all the work. A lot of it actually comes down to hitting stat requirements, managing limited upgrade resources, and slowly unlocking stronger farming comps so you can push deeper content without constantly manually playing everything. Not to mention, the real focus in this game is on setup, who you build, how you gear them, and which farming routes you commit to. Check it out, it's a free game. It is about 10 gigabytes in total, however. Going up to number 20, we've got Dynamite Blue. Dynamite Blue is a pixel art cyberpunk RPG from some of the original Exo Zeros developers, and it already looks like some next-gen potential at least. This game mixes AFK progression with side-scrolling, pretty clean animations, and, well, of course, character arts that straight up look wallpaper worthy. The world itself doesn't take itself too seriously though, which kind of helps it stand out from all the overly dramatic mobile RPGs right now. Still in development and definitely want to keep an eye on.
Allison Barlow.
Coming up behind that at number 21, we've got The Big Con. So, for those of you who missed it, well, Big Con is this pretty goofy little 90s road trip sort of adventure where you're basically a teenage scam artist trying to save your family's video store before it goes under. So, yeah, instead of fighting monsters, you're actually out here pickpocketing people, sneaking through malls, hustling strangers, and talking your way out of trouble. By the way, the whole thing actually leans even harder into that colorful VHS era. The game is just full of those awkward humors, but got pretty old school nostalgia and just dumb teenage stupidity like in the best way possible. Going down to number 22, we've got City Train Simulator, which is one of those pretty relaxing sim games where nothing explodes, nobody's shooting at you. It's just literally you trying not to miss the station stop by 3 meters and feeling bad when you do. So you're driving commuter trains through cities like New York and London, opening doors, watching signals, staying on schedule, all that proper train driver stuff. Pretty slow game, grounded, surprisingly immersive once you lock into the rhythm. Kind of maybe the perfect game to zone out with for like an hour without even realizing it.
Defenders 3 is a unique fusion of collectible strategy.
On another hand, we've got the game Defenders 3, and Defenders 3, as you can see, is a tower defense and a collectible car game thrown in just basically the same blender, and it really works well. Like, you're constantly building defenses, there's over 50 different towers, you gotta swap heroes and spells on the fly to survive bigger, badder waves, and unlike a lot of mobile tower defense games that eventually become autoplay wallpaper, this one actually wants you thinking about the positioning, the timing, and synergies. There's multiple biomes, several game modes, and there's also over 25 different bosses to defeat. Not to mention, it's a free-to-play game as well. Going even further with number 24, we've got Oath, Bound and Blood, which looks like another pixel art idle RPG at first, of course, then little by little starts throwing bigger challenges, bigger bosses, labyrinths, and just way more story focused than these games usually bother with. It still keeps, the idle progression loop, of course, so you're constantly growing even offline, but the manual boss fights and old school pixel vibe give it a little bit more personality than the usual grinders. It's a free game, of course it's an online game, and it's available on Android only. Number 25, we've got Cloak. I would say Cloak is one of those pixel art roguelikes that looks pretty simple, super simple for like 5 minutes. Right before it starts humbling you like all day. Pretty fast game, it is clean, very skill focused instead of drowning you in systems. You've got different heroes that change how runs feel. Along the way, the whole thing becomes less about grinding stats and more about actually getting better at the game itself. If you like pixel art games and a nice dose of platform slashing, this one's a heavy hit, and it's an offline game as well. And last but not least, there's actually pretty good news. Bloons Blitz is, in case you missed it, Ninja Kiwi's latest game, and they're basically taking the entire Bloons formula and throwing it in a survival-style roguelike instead. So yeah, imagine Bloons Tower Defense, but now everything's faster, messier, and just way more action-oriented. You're running around melting balloons, stacking upgrades, building combos, all that while the screen slowly turns into a battlefield. It still also got that same monkey charm the series always had, but now it just feels more like Vampire Survivors after drinking a 6-pack of energy drinks. Anyway, thanks for watching, let me know which one's your favorite, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Ciao.